Science is the driving force of the future. What starts as a fleeting idea can go on to change the world. In an era of mis and disinformation, trusting science is more important than ever. Good evening, my name is Maia Mazurkiewicz, and welcome to the Anatomy of Disinformation. Public trust in scientists and positive views of science is continuing to decline. And that's despite years of research to improve medicine, halt climate change, and develop machine learning, innovations that are shaping the world around us. That's why science communication is so important. The Nobel Foundation is at the forefront of these efforts, with Nobel laureates inspiring new generations to help make our world a better place.
Anna Sjöström Douagi, CEO at the Nobel Foundation. Anna Sjöström Douagi holds a PhD in immunology from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden and has extensive experience in international science policy from her position as international advisor to the Secretary General at the Swedish Research Council. She managed the European head of research organizations for 2 years when the Swedish Research Council was chairing the organization. She was an elected member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences and was awarded the Ordre de Palmes Académiques by the French Republic for her distinguished services to science and education. She serves on several boards and committees both nationally and internationally.
Anna, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in the Anatomy of Disinformation after a busy period for you with the Nobel laureates receiving their awards.
Thank you for having me.
We are talking in our show about disinformation and why actually it's an important topic for Nobel Foundation.
So the Nobel Prizes, they award science, literature, and peace. And it's all about truth-seeking, actually. And mis and disinformation are undermining both the public trust in science and some scientists and the institutions, but these different awards are all contributing in different ways to find truth, and it needs people to both trust them as science and scientists, authors, peace builders, in order to trust the results and also to trust the science itself. So that's why it's very, very important for us.
And it's promoting the shaping of the new world as well, right? I think that's quite a bit of what's happening.
Exactly. So already in the will of Alfred Nobel, he was very insightful, even if it's 125 years ago. But the scientific prizes awards fundamental research, but all the awards in their diversity, so from science, literature, and peace, they all pave the way and they tackle the global challenges in different ways. But it's really a picture of the society today when you look at all the prizes.
And in mis and disinformation, very often there are fake experts and science itself is being targeted.
Yes, that's correct. And of course, as we have seen in many different, it's everything from climate change discussions to what we saw during the pandemic with the vaccine development, to the erosion of democracies in the world, that the mis and disinformation is challenging in so many aspects of society today, and what we need for the world to continue to develop in the way that we have seen over the last 125 years, we need to have this trust and also the common view of the world where we are discussing. And with the mis and disinformation, that makes us into different subgroups and maybe believing in different things. And that makes it very complicated to continue this positive progress that we have seen.
And this year, particularly, Nobel Prizes were awarded very much in relation to shaping the AI.
That's correct. We had the physics prize this year was awarded for basic discoveries that led to neural networks that led to large language models and machine learning. And then the chemistry prize was actually an application of AI that led that you could predict how proteins are folded and structured, but also to develop completely new proteins that hasn't been existing before, so that you can develop new drugs, for example. But then the discussion on the very hot topic of today, that how is AI going to influence the world in all aspects of our lives, is of course something that is from the side of being maybe considered as a threat to increased polarization and the possibility for new ways of spreading mis and disinformation, but then also on the other hand, to spread good information and to create new things that are solutions to our problems. And I think that is a discussion that we need to have. And I'm very happy also that the Nobel Prizes can help putting light on topics that are of very acute issues that we need to discuss today on a global level, where all actors are involved, not only scientists, but also policymakers, legislators, and the civil society, and also, of course, all citizens in the world.
And you have huge power in terms of promoting science and communicating about science. And I remember when we've met at Washington, D.C. at the Truth, Trust and Hope Summit and the Nobel Prize Summit, where we've been discussing as well disinformation. Mm-hmm. One of the things that a lot of Nobel laureates been saying on the stage was that the communication of science, of scientists, needs to change.
Exactly, and that we hear that often from both laureates, and also we have, of course, we have the Nobel Peace Prize that has been awarded several times to journalists who are the essence of freedom of speech and truth seeking in that perspective, but also the bridge of scientists and fundamental research into other parts of society, and where researchers and scientists need to be part of that conversation, and that includes everything of, learning people to understand the scientific method. For example, to understand that if you have scientific progress, sometimes small parts becomes wrong, and you have to change a small part. But that doesn't mean that the whole picture is changed, like the climate change, for example, where you think that a new result suddenly makes that climate change is not caused by human. That you need to understand the scientific method in order to understand that it's not the case. The big picture is still the same. So that is very important to talk about science, to talk about the scientific method, but also to include policymakers and legislators, for them to understand both the pros and cons of new developing innovations, to new developing basic discoveries on how that can be used for good and bad in society, and how we as people together must shape our future, because it's not a destiny that is destined to be in certain ways when new things are discovered, but we need to shape the future together, and then to include all parts of society for that.
And I would focus still on challenges, because I think that's an important topic, and many scientists are trying to change the world for better, and we are living right now in the big changes where there's a lot of challenges. You mentioned some, but there are geopolitical changes, climate changes, and disinformation has been said as one of the biggest challenges, for example, by the World Economic Forum just this year, or last year. Exactly, like how you can support better scientists, or are you trying to also discuss with them about how they can better communicate their research? Because I think that people quite often are also lost, right? Because what you said, there's a lot of different research, so how they should know in the social media which one is the right one.
I mean, that is, of course, very important. And we at the Nobel Prize, we work constantly in promoting the work of our Nobel Prizes and the laureates. We do it through both international meetings and conferences. We do it by a large digital activity and communication. We have museums, we have a lot of school activities, and we do a lot to promote teachers. And we should not forget the role of teachers and education, and how we can then support them in having materials that can be used to spread both the scientific method, but of course also the discoveries that are awarded by the Nobel Prize. And I think the Nobel Prize laureates can also serve as an inspiration that they are lifelong learners, all the time witnessing of how they need to learn new things to be aware and to understand the complexity of our society, and that is inspiration for all of us, that we need to constantly learn new things. And that is, I think, the future we are in, that it's a constant education. And then we should also see that as something very positive, because it's also very developing for humanity to stimulate by reading and learning.
Exactly, and the science can really, even with one invention, make a huge impact for present, but for the future even more. Exactly. So I think we need to remember that the progress that we have seen in the world for the last, I would say, 150 years is all based on the development of science, learning, and education. And I think we should be thinking of that is the best tool we have to continue making the world a better place by using this the science and research. And I think we need to do that, and we need to develop it, but we also need to learn how to handle it and use it in this most clever way for the future. We will be back to our conversation, but first, let's look at the report on Maria Ressa, one of the Nobel laureates.
Maria Ressa uses freedom of expression to expose abuse of power, use of violence, and growing authoritarianism in her native country, the Philippines. In 2012, she co-founded Rappler, an online news website for investigative journalism, of which she still is the president. Maria Ressa is a fearless defender of freedom of expression. Rappler has focused critical attention on the Duterte regime's controversial, murderous anti-drug campaign. The campaign has death tolls so high that it resembles a civil war. Ms. Ressa and Rappler have also documented how social media is used to spread fake news, harass opponents, and manipulate public discourse. Both laureates have been the object of ridicule, harassment, threats, and violence as a result of their work. Would you please come forward?
In 2021, Maria Ressa have received a Peace Prize around disinformation. So you already saw it as an issue, and I understand it was around pandemic, where the disinformation actually came into the light of seeing how a negative effect can it have on our societies.
That's correct, and I think Maria Ressa was very early in witnessing on how the new information environment can be used to spread both good and bad information, and that she was very hopeful with the new technology in the beginning to use it to gather a lot of people, to use it to spread right information, but how she saw then that was used also to spread mis and disinformation that affected the society in a bad way. And she has been a real strong force to drive these topics. And as we see with the Peace Prize, we have had both individuals and organizations who are working to safeguard the freedom of expression as a precondition for both democracy and lasting peace. So the Peace Prize in itself is promoting many of these questions, but specifically Maria Ressa was, of course, one of the examples of exactly on mis and disinformation. And during the pandemic, we saw how that affected the society, and actually people's lives were lost due to fake news, which is on the extreme side of what misinformation can lead to.
Exactly, but Maria also very often shows how she's been attacked and she still is attacked because of her fight for peace. And I think that there are two angles of disinformation exactly in here. Sometimes affecting one person and sometimes lives of many.
Exactly, and that's unfortunate what we have seen with people fighting and really supporting this active work of lifting this problem as the big challenge it is for today. And as you said, Maia, that this is affecting all parts of society, and it's lifted by both the OECD and the UN as a major threat in all different categories we are working on, and how big consequences this may have if we don't handle it well, and if we as humanity don't find good solutions on how to deal with this.
And exactly, as Nobel Foundation, and I'm talking about, again, about your power and bringing different parts of the society together. What is your main angle right now? Because Truth, Trust and Hope, the Prize Summit, it was the beginning, right, of very much work on it, but it's an ongoing process that you are doing, and I know that you are having meetings all over the world talking about the issue.
Yes, we do have an extensive international activity in bringing together laureates, policymakers, experts, educators to talk about issues of global importance. And I think that is the Nobel Prize is awarding big discoveries that had the greatest benefit for humankind, but it also has a great convening power to get people together and to talk. And like this last December now in 2024, when we had the laureates of 2024 in Stockholm, we had a very interesting discussion on the threats and the possibilities on AI, together with both the physics laureates, the chemist laureates, and the economy laureates, where different angles of AI were lifted in a very interesting way. And of course, this also comes to elements in both in the literature and Peace Prize, where AI is extremely important as well. So I think we work to lift these more overarching questions that concerns many parts of the society and try to stimulate discussions about these topics with the help of our laureates.
And I was wondering about this discussion because quite a lot what is being repeated in many venues where we talk about development of AI is the ethics that is coming in there, and then AI itself is a tool that can be used in a bad or in a good way. Right. So, were there also discussions about ethics, and do you think that that's a core of the future as well, of the future of development of the?
Yes, I really do think so. And we had a great physics laureate, Professor Jeffrey Hinton, who was he's called the godfather of AI, and he is a strong believer that we need more research. We need to know more on how we should handle AI in the future. That we have some years now where we are not destined in one way or the other, but we need research, we need discussions, we need legislations on how we should use this in the most both ethical and a good way for humanity and the way forward. So that is something that I foresee that we will also as an organization be engaged in and facilitate those discussions.
I think what is important, because Truth and trust, I think those are important words that we've been talking quite a lot as well in the show. But hope is also one thing that is coming a lot in your work, but I believe also that is bringing a big emotion that we very much need right now. And you are a scientist yourself, right? And while you are thinking about changing something, developing something, is this hope, a vision, something that is supporting your work?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. I think for me personally, both the whole portfolio of the Nobel Prizes with the science, the literature, and the peace work, it gives me hope. It's all different ways to understand the world and the way we are living and the way we want to shape our future. It's all about finding new solutions. It's all about understanding humanity. It's all about bringing peace and peaceful dialogue. And that work, it really gives me hope. And I think we as an organization can help bringing this hope and spread the word about it, and also to show that these values is actually something that is making progress for the world. So it gives me hope.
Very good, and I hope that it's gonna give the hope as well to others, because that's something that we need. And maybe I have a last question, because you are the foundation from one hand side, but you have amazing group of people that are laureates and still having a lot to do in front of them, and what they do, because you said that they are going to schools, that they are bringing also this hope and development, and education is one of the key things when we are talking about mis and disinformation as well, because people need to know.
Yes, and really that's one of my really key questions and the things that I strongly believe in, and that's the role of education, teachers, and how to help teachers to spread both the information, education, knowledge about critical thinking and scientific thinking, how we will see education being changed in the light of development of AI, but how important that is to combat mis and disinformation. And that is something that we at the Nobel Foundation and the Nobel Prize are working extensively in promoting both schools, children, students, and of course teachers who makes the world a better place by themselves.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing inspiration, because we can change the world while we are inspired and have this vision and a hope. Thank you so much. Let's now look at the definition of the term fake experts.
What are fake experts and how are they used in disinformation? Fake experts are individuals or entities that pose as authorities in a particular field but lack genuine expertise or credentials. They're often used in disinformation campaigns as an appeal to authority to make false information seem more believable. By claiming fake credentials or publishing misleading articles, they create the illusion of expertise. This encourages people to trust their claims, further spreading false information and making it harder to distinguish between what is true and what is false.
Science is changing the world faster than ever before. Without a firm grounding in trustworthy sources, we have no hope of making sense of the world around us. Every day, we are exposed to countless amounts of data, and that includes plenty of mis and disinformation. That's why it's so crucial to place our trust in science and scientists that are real and reliable, instead of fake experts. So until next time, keep calm and think deeply.